So I want to talk about artificial telepathy and kind of how it works. Okay, um, I've done all sorts of experiments over the years, and I've put out a lot of stuff um, about artificial telepathy, especially on SoundCloud. Before I really started doing the YouTube, I was doing a lot on SoundCloud, and the way I was doing it at first was, or still, if I do it, I do it still, but I don't put it out that much anymore because I just don't have time to go through and do the edits and all of that anymore, and it's not really getting me anywhere. I mean, it got me a lot of publicity, and I was the first one doing it, but it didn't really get me anything else other than some millions of plays on SoundCloud. I didn't even monetize it at the time, and I'm probably not going to go back and do it. I may go back and do it, but you have to have a premier account, and it all has to be on one account, and I've got like 50 something accounts, 58 accounts I think, because it's only 180 minutes is the limit. So but it's all original material of me talking about it and me putting out recordings of artificial telepathy, and it works through remote neural monitoring. Okay, and it's a broadcast. It broadcasts. All right, let me explain it. The system reads you. The system reads you from EMF waves, okay? It uses EMF broadcast to pick you up and read you with your specific EMF signature frequency. Everybody has their own, just like every cell phone has their own. And the system is operated by satellites. Now, there may be some other computers linked into this system somewhere, but it's definitely satellites that control all of this broadcast stuff. And as far as like the artificial telepathy part, okay, it could come through anything. And when gang stalkers are talking to you and you hear them, then that's artificial telepathy. It's not magic, it's only a broadcast. It's not real telepathy, although it does somewhat prove that real telepathy is possible. Now, somehow you would have to figure out how to broadcast to a specific person and whatever without electronic assistance for real telepathy to work. But it is possible, because if it wasn't possible, then artificial telepathy wouldn't be possible either. So sometimes when you're thinking like, oh, I was just about to say that, and somebody else said that or something, like it's very possible that your mind is picking up something from somebody else's mind nearby you. And this EMF, the electromagnetic field of Earth, is everywhere, and it's like a web that entangles all of us together. It links everybody and everything together. So you may actually be telepathic when you think that you and somebody are just thinking alike a lot. But all that's for the future, for a new evolution of human, possibly one day. But for now, it's broadcast, and it's assisted with electronics. And it is broadcast through the magnetic field of Earth, the electromagnetic field. It's an EMF broadcast. So when they're talking to you, it's weird because it can come through all sorts of things. And I've got all sorts of things on my SoundCloud recordings that people could hear, where it comes through airplanes and crickets and water faucets, and it likes to disperse on another noise. Now, they can just talk to you normal, clearly, where you could just hear them, and it's not inside your head. They have the controls, the settings to be able to control where it seems to be coming from. So a lot of times, like, I know where, like Marcus, the gang stalker guy, Smiley the gang stalker, he may be talking to me, and I know he lives like right over here, but it could be coming from over here, and he can control where he wants that broadcast to come from, so it can seem like it's coming from a different direction. And initially it was very confusing for me, because I would think I hear them coming from a certain location or a certain direction, and really they could be in a completely different direction. And even though they can talk to you like that, it can also come through a lot of things. Now, when I record the artificial telepathy, the EMF broadcast, it's not really them out loud that I can hear. That's not really what I can record very well. What I record is more like the subliminal stuff that disperses off of other things, and that's a little different, and I'm not sure exactly how that all works, but it is different. In a lot of cases, you can't really hear the EMF broadcast like you can hear them when they're talking to you. I mean, I think it's all an EMF broadcast, microwave auditory effect, or whatever you want to call it. But when they're talking to you normal, you can hear them. But when they're talking, when they're on your channel broadcasting, but they don't have the telepathic settings turned on, you can still hear them if it disperses off of something else. And that's the type of thing that I record more easily. Okay, I have been able to record some stuff where they're talking and I can hear them out loud and then hear the same thing in the recording, but that's very difficult. And this video is not really about making recordings. I do have some videos about making recordings, and you know, so it is possible, but it really just picks up the broadcast as an interference, so it's really hit or miss, and it's never very clear. I do have some that are very clear, but sometimes it is, and most of the time it's not, and sometimes it's dispersing through different things. So I did a thing one time where I was I called my iPad, okay, and then I put the iPad on speaker, and then the phone that I called it with, I was scratching the back of it, and it was dispersing through the noise really well. It was dispersing their broadcast really well, and I called that telepathic scratch, and I came out with that about a couple years ago, and it was really bizarre. You know, I learned stuff like that by, okay, so they're broadcasting to me, and say I could scratch like my clothes or something around me, and I could hear them coming through that scratch. Like I said, they can come through all sorts of things. Sometimes it can seem like you could come through things, but you're not broadcasting like that because you don't have the control panel and the broadcast equipment, the headsets and the stuff that they use. So you're not really coming through things. What it is they're connected to you, and when you say something, they're saying the same thing, and then it may come through something because they're broadcasting. So it's like it goes from you to them and then back out, and then it can come through something different. So if like you think you just came through a bird telepathically, it's not you that came through it, it's you mind controlling them who is broadcasting, and then they come through whatever. So because you don't have that equipment that they're using in those settings, so they're not turning you on to broadcast like that. Maybe they can, but I don't think they really want to do that. So I know in my case, when it seems like I'm coming through something like crickets or something like that, it's really them. It's me mind controlling them, which is what they want. They want to be mind controlled, and that's why they connect to you. And it's, say for instance, I'll be talking and they can just talk along with me word for word, or when they repeat your thoughts to you. When your thoughts hit them and they know your thought to be able to repeat it to you, you mind controlled them, and you didn't mind control them to say it back to you, but it is a form of mind control, and what they like is to be mind controlled. So you know, sometimes they can talk with you word for word for word for word, and you can do them the same way. And that's when the broadcast is on, and you could probably turn on your EMF meter. Look, that quick. I like to catch them, you know. So it's not really on right now. The broadcast is not really on right now. So I keep the EMF meter on me at all times, and I could just try to catch them. Now obviously I had to think, let me go in my pocket and get this EMF meter out. So they do have you know, a couple seconds to turn it off, and that's all they need sometimes. It's gotten with me now where it's harder to catch them because they know I'm trying to catch them, so they leave that screen open. you know, where they can quickly access the broadcast to turn it off. They don't have to go to that screen or whatever. They leave it open. Like I turned it on earlier, and for 3 seconds it was on 264 or something like that, and then they turned it off before I could get the camera situation rolling. So, you know, but with artificial telepathy, they've got on the headset. They don't really have to hear you. It can just be admitted right into your mind. And in some cases, you don't have to really hear them. If you're good with this, then you can kind of know what they're thinking if they think before they talk. And then they talk, and it's like you're hearing it for the second time. So there's all kinds of weird experiments you can do with the broadcast and artificial telepathy. You could try scratching and like think what you're wanting it to say, and that will make them say that, and because you're mind controlling them, okay, and then it'll come out of that scratch or whatever. So it does work that way, and so it's really strange, you know, like making it come through birds and crickets and traffic, and you know, you can hear it through like static. If you turn on static noise, it can come through basically whatever you're hearing. Just like wherever you look is where the broadcast goes. So if you want to take EMF pictures of the broadcast to try to edit and expose the broadcast, then you need to be looking at what you take a picture of, because that's how the system's designed. And whatever you hear is kind of what they start to come through, because it is your neural monitoring. So you do have some control over this. But I've talked about all of this stuff before, but you know, 1,000 videos later, I figured I'll talk about it some more, and I'm probably going to talk about it even some more. I've got a little situation here where thousands of birds just flew over my house. That was the first flock of those little blackbirds that I've seen this year. So sometimes we get 100 million of them in the backyard, and when they all take off at the same time, it creates that woof, you know, that you could just about feel. It's really strange. You know, if you ever notice all of the birds, they all could turn at the same time, and they all could take off at the same time, and I believe they have a connection to each other through EMF. I believe that's how that works. It's ironic that would happen just now while I'm talking about this, but you know, those are just some of the things that I've experimented with artificial telepathy. You know, it does get strange, and there's a lot to learn. I wish that I had access to it, but at the same time, if I had access to it, you know, either one or two things would happen. I would give it to everybody, and they'd probably shut it down, or I would become a gang stalker or an EMF broadcast person at least, and then I probably wouldn't be talking about it. So it's good that it is the way it is. I don't mind going through this, because I believe there's a reason for all of this to be happening, and I believe that myself and the other people going through this that talk about it, we could lead the way into this, into a solution, and figure out what's going on and get rid of this evil situation. Maybe the technology is not evil, but they're using it for evil. So it's very, very evil the way they're using it. So anyway, that's just some of the little things that I've experimented with and that I know about artificial telepathy and remote neural monitoring.